The hatches are long since closed and the Soyuz has undocked. Now it's time to bring Alexander Misurkin, Yusaku Maezawa, and Yozo Hirano home. Welcome back to Mission Control Houston and the International Space Station Flight Control Room, where the team is following along with the Soyuz MS-20's preparations for its upcoming deorbit burn at 8:18 p.m. Central Time, landing at 9:13 p.m. south of Jazakhstan, Kazakhstan, wrapping up a stay in space that lasted 12 days. This will be the last orbit of the Earth for the Soyuz MS-20 and its crew members on board the Soyuz. After spending almost 12 full days in space, they'll land today having orbited the Earth a total of 189 times and traveled 4.6 million miles. With his upcoming landing, Misurkin will have spent a total of 346 days in space over his 3 missions. This, of course, is the first space flight for Maezawa and Hirano, so they'll each land with a total of 12 days in space under their belt. The trio said a brief goodbye to their short-term crewmates, staying behind earlier this afternoon before closing the hatches between their vehicles in the International Space Station. This was the last view that we expect to get of them until we see them coming out of the Soyuz on the ground in Kazakhstan. And this took place around 1:20 p.m. Central Time. All 3 crew members waving goodbye there during that hatch closing. Anton Shkaplerov, the Expedition 66 commander, the one closing the hatch on this side. And a thumb is up there from Shkaplerov. The crew did open the hatch again briefly at around 2:30 p.m. Central Time, but the crew did not come back out, and the hatch was closed for a final time around 2:32 p.m. After closing the hatches, they were able to get all the required leak checks and preparations done for an on-time undocking from the space station at 5:50 p.m. Central, setting them on their way for today's 9:13 p.m. Central Time landing. They're now just about ready to go for the deorbit burn that will take place at 8:18 p.m. Central Time. It's coming up in about 15 minutes now. Seeing views here coming down live from the International Space Station, which is orbiting about 260 miles above the South Pacific Ocean, just about to reach the southernmost portion of this orbit and go into the nighttime portion, but some really pretty views of the ocean as the crew flies over at the moment. Although their role is mostly monitoring for the night at this point here in the International Space Station Flight Control Room, there is a team of flight controllers watching over space station systems, led by Flight Director Jeff Radigan, with the new Flight Director Brandon Lloyd training alongside him as they follow along. Lloyd there in the blue coat with Radigan beside him in the black jacket. And in Kazakhstan, a number of officials and vehicles are standing by in preparation for the landing. A total of 12 Mi-8 helicopters deployed to various sites across Kazakhstan for Soyuz landings. 8 are at the expected landing site southeast of Jazakhstan, Kazakhstan. 2 more will be ready about 250 miles away in the area where touchdown would take place if a ballistic entry occurred. And a final two helicopters will loiter midway between the 2. We are, of course, not expecting a ballistic entry, but as always, we are prepared for one. Also deployed for landing are 6 all-terrain vehicles and 3 Antonov airplanes that serve as flying command centers. They'll have direct communication with the crew and will relay those communications back to Moscow.
Дмитрий Васильевич, как меня слышно?
Dmitry, how do you read me? Loud and clear.
О, взаимно.
Likewise.
Слушай, я тут немножко забыл доложить по поводу
I just remembered to
укладки.
report about
Когда
the
общались
kit
специалисты там,
when the
передайте, пожалуйста,
specialist talked
дополнительные
about it. There was additional radiogram on stowing
пробни наборов
additional sets
проб
for samples to container 900. In order to put them in there, I had to take out sets of the Japanese chopsticks. I put them behind my head in the kit that is next to UPRO 2. That is on the right side of GoPro. Behind those kits, you can see the ends of those sticking out a little bit, so you can see what they are.
Все принято, Саша.
The weight is very negligible.
Все принято.
So that's okay. So copy this. Thank you.
Soyuz MS-20 crew there talking with the team on the ground who is monitoring their actions as they head toward today's landing. Seeing a live view here of the Russian Mission Control Center outside of Moscow, which we'll be following along and working through all the steps that are required to get them safely to the ground today. We're now about 11 minutes away from the Soyuz MS-20's deorbit burn. That's scheduled for 8:18 p.m. Central, when the Soyuz will be about 20 miles away from the space station. That burn will last 4 minutes and 39 seconds, during which the thrusters firing will act as a brake on the Soyuz vehicle while it's still about 260 miles above the Earth, slowing it down by 128 meters per second, or 286 miles per hour, and dropping it out of orbit. About 24 minutes later, at 8:47 p.m. Central, when the Soyuz is at an altitude of 87 miles above the Earth, the vehicle's computers will command the descent module of the Soyuz to separate from the rest of the spacecraft just above the first traces of the Earth's atmosphere. The orbital module on top, which is where the crew has a small amount of room to move around during its flight to the space station after launch, and the instrumentation and propulsion module on the bottom, which houses the oxygen storage tanks, attitude control thrusters, avionics, and communications and control equipment, will separate from the descent module in the middle where the crew is seated. The descent module contains personally contoured seats for the crew members to use during launch, entry, and landing, as well as all the controls and displays necessary for critical flight activities. It also has life support provisions, batteries for re-entry and landing, and parachutes and soft landing rocket engines to slow the vehicle just before touchdown. The orbital module and instrumentation and propulsion module will burn up in the Earth's atmosphere, while the descent module continues on with Misurkin, Maezawa, and Hirano inside. 3 minutes later, at 8:50 p.m., 62 miles or 326,000 feet above the Earth, the Soyuz will begin atmospheric entry. The descent module's computers will orient the capsule with its ablative heat shield pointing forward to protect it from the heat as it begins to fly through the Earth's atmosphere, and the crew will begin to feel the first effects of gravity again. That will build through about 8:56 p.m. when they'll experience the maximum pressure or G-load for the descent. They'll probably briefly feel about 4 to 5 times the force of gravity. And just 2 minutes later, about 14 minutes before touchdown, when the Soyuz is 35,105 feet above the Earth and traveling at a speed of about 514 miles per hour, the Soyuz computer will command the first in a series of parachutes to deploy. 2 pilot parachutes will come first, one 6.7 square feet and one 48.4 square feet. Together, they will drag out the drogue chute, a 258 square foot parachute that slows the Soyuz down to 178 miles per hour. The drogue chute will also create a gentle spin for the Soyuz as it dangles underneath, which will help stabilize the capsule in its final minutes before touchdown. Just before touchdown, that drogue chute will be jettisoned to make way for the deployment of the 3,281-foot main parachute. It will continue slowing down the capsule to a speed of about 16 miles per hour, First, the capsule will hang beneath it at a 30-degree angle to the horizon with the help of aerodynamic stability. But one of the two harnesses connecting the parachute to the capsule, after one of them is severed, the Soyuz is going to right itself so that it's in a vertical position for touchdown. Then, when the capsule is just 16,000 feet, or 3 miles above the Earth's surface, the vehicle's heat shield will be jettisoned, and any residual propellant will dissipate. Without the heat shield, the Soyuz's altimeter, an instrument that measures altitude by bouncing signals to the ground and back to the Soyuz, will be exposed to the Earth, and it will be used to provide the capsule's computers updated information on altitude and rate of descent. At that point, the computers on the Soyuz will also arm the module's seat shock absorbers. And then when the Soyuz reaches an altitude of about 39 feet up, the cockpit displays will tell Alexander Misurkin, the Soyuz commander, to prepare to fire at the soft landing engines. Those are 6 solid propellant engines, and they'll be fired just 3 feet above the ground, 2 seconds before touchdown, allowing the Soyuz to slow down to 5 feet per second, or about 3.5 miles per hour, for a landing at 9:13 p.m. Central Time. That'll be 9:13 a.m. local time in Kazakhstan.
Copy.
And all of that will be set off by this deorbit burn coming up now in 7 minutes.
You're not able to hear us. All right.
Также напоминаю, что репортаж выполняется в формате время, импульс.
And always say the time.
Да, принял.
Copy.
Gentlemen, we have a burn of main engine in 6 minutes.
Five minutes left to go now until today's deorbit burn, and just under an hour until the crew of 3 touches down in Kazakhstan. This upcoming deorbit burn will last 4 minutes and 39 seconds, and again, that's going to slow the Soyuz down in its orbit, allowing it to drop out of orbit and setting it on the path home.
Четыре минуты до включения двигателя.
4 minutes till thrust activation. Confirming.
2.5 minutes now to go into the deorbit burn. The team here on the ground confirming that everything seems to be in a good config to get the folks on board the Soyuz MS-20 home safely today for their 9:13 p.m. Central landing time. Deorbit burn coming up at 8:18 p.m. Central. One minute to go now until today's deorbit burn. That's going to drop the Soyuz MS-20 back into the Earth's orbit, down to the Earth's orbit, or rather out of the Earth's orbit, and send them on their way home tonight.
Give us power. We have that. Copy.
Перешел на формат контроль.
Went to monitoring. Display. SKD covers open. D3 is issued. G3 is issued. Yes.
Перешел на 51-ю страницу. 10
Went to page 51. We have SKD activation.
5 seconds until the burn starts.
Есть работа СКД.
SKD activation confirmed.
Deorbit burn has begun on time at 8:18 p.m. Central Time. It's going to last 4 minutes and 39 seconds. And again, that's going to slow the Soyuz down by 128 meters per second or 286 miles per hour, allowing it to drop out of orbit and setting off the chain of events that will bring it home for a landing at 9:13 p.m. Central today.
And next point.
Again, this will last 4 minutes and 39 seconds, so should wrap up at 8:23 p.m. Central.
15 meters. 8.46.
45 секунд работы.
45 seconds.
22 метра на оборме.
22 meters burn.
Параметры КДУ норма.
KDU parameters within norm.
1 minute into that 4 minute and 39 second burn.
1 minute.
Hearing that all's looking good.
27.5. Index 0.46.
Минута 15.
1 minute 15 seconds. 34.5 meters.
Параметры КДУ в норме.
KDU parameters within norm.
Минута 30.
1 minute 30 seconds. 41 meters.
MX 046. Параметры
Next
КДУ.
point 46 KDU norm.
Минута 45.
1 minute 45.
Метров работы.
37 meters.
046.
146.
Принято.
Copy.
2 минуты.
2 minutes.
54 метра.
54 meters.
MX по-прежнему 046.
Next still 46.
Параметры КДУ в норме.
KDU normal.
Halfway through this deorbit burn now. About 2 minutes and 20 seconds left in it before it wraps up for a total of 4 minutes and 39 seconds.
2:30 отработали.
2:30.
8 метров.
68 meters.
NX 047.
Next, no, 40.47.
2:45.
2:45.
56 метров.
76 meters.
Параметры КДУ в норме.
KDU normal.
3 минуты отработали.
3 minutes.
3,5 метра.
83.5 meters.
NX 047.
Next point 47.
3:15.
3:15.
90 метров.
90 meters.
Параметры КДУ в норме.
KDU parameters within norm.
3:30.
3:30.
96,9.
96.9 meters.
NX 048.
1 minute left to go in the deorbit burn. All looking good so far.
3:45.
3:45.
Метров набранный импульс.
104 meters.
4 минуты. 110
4 meters.
метров набранный импульс.
110 meters.
4:15.
1:15.
15 метров. Ожидая
Eight.
включения эскадры.
And 18 is KD activation expecting.
Сто 125 метров.
125 meters. 4:30.
Отключение эскадры.
Escadre
Отключение термодатчиков.
deactivation thermal
ДБО открыто.
sensors KSDBO open.
And that is the conclusion of that deorbit burn. Again, lasted 4 minutes and 39 seconds. That has begun slowing the Soyuz down by 128 meters per second, or 286 miles per hour, which will drop the Soyuz out of Earth's orbit, send it on its journey back home for a landing in Kazakhstan, coming up in 49 minutes now at 9:13 p.m. Central Time. And the team here on the ground confirming that that was a good burn. Again, it's sending the crew on board, Alexander Misurkin, Yusaku Maezawa, and Yozo Hirano on their way for tonight's landing.
Now we
At this point, there will be a little bit of a lull in the milestones as the Soyuz begins heading back home, but around 8:47 p.m. Central Time, we'll see the descent module separate from the orbital module and the instrumentation and propulsion module. The descent module is the only thing that comes back with the crew members on board. Everything else, or everything they need for a safe landing, is contained within that module, including the parachutes and the soft landing engines.
It's not too much time. Yozo.
Yes.
Please, I can hold off. You need to put GoPro and iPhone to 350.
Okay.
Okay. I can hold it. Uh-huh. I think it would be easy for you, first of all.
45 minutes away now from today's 9:13 p.m. Central Time landing. That is 9:13 a.m. local in Kazakhstan, where the Soyuz will be touching down with Alexander Misurkin, Yusaku Maezawa, and Yozo Hirano on board. We've got about 20 minutes to go until the next major milestone that we'll be watching for, which is the separation of the descent module for the Soyuz from the rest of the spacecraft. That'll be just above the first traces that the Soyuz will begin seeing of the Earth's atmosphere. Soyuz has three modules. The orbital module on top, where the crew has a small amount of room to move around and during its flight to the space station after launch, and the instrumentation and propulsion module on the bottom, which houses the oxygen and storage tanks, attitude control thrusters, avionics, and communication and control equipment. Those will both separate from the descent module in the middle, where the crew is seated. The descent module contains all the personally contoured seats the crew members are sitting in to help pad their entry and landing, as well as all the controls and displays needed for critical flight activities. It's also got life support provisions, batteries for re-entry and landing, and parachutes and soft landing rockets, all very key equipment for the upcoming 9:13 p.m. landing.
To return cable from my pocket to 350.
From your pocket to?
To 350.
350.
Yes.
Okay.
It's small cable for charging tablets.
Okay.
Yozo would not be able to take it out from 350. That is why I put it to my pocket. But I have to leave it there before go out.
Yep.
Thank you so much. Juggle your job for Yozo. Jewelry. Probably, you were able to do this. Great job.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, could you please install raw transportation position?
Altair, МКС. Удачи, ребята, до встречи на Земле.
Altair,
Yuzo, good luck in all your...
Altair, this is ISS, so the very best, guys, and I will see you soon.
Hearing just a little bit of a ship-to-ship call between the Soyuz and the International Space Station there. We're still looking forward next to that separation of the Soyuz modules when the descent module holding the crew inside will separate from the rest of the Soyuz. And after that, things will happen pretty quickly. About 3 minutes later, at 8:50 p.m., the Soyuz is going to begin experiencing atmospheric re-entry. At that point, the descent module will reorient with the ablative heat shield pointing into the heat as it does begin to fly through the Earth's atmosphere. It's also when the crew will begin to feel the first effects of gravity again, building all the way through 8:56 p.m. when they'll experience the maximum pressure G-load for the descent. That'll probably be feeling about 4 to 5 times the force of gravity at that point. And then 2 minutes later, when the Soyuz is about 35,105 feet above the Earth, traveling about 514 miles per hour, the Soyuz computers will command the first of its parachutes to deploy. That'll start with 2 pilot chutes that then drag out the drogue chute, which is all just a pre-show for the enormous main parachute that gives it its final slowdown before its planned landing at 9:13 p.m. Central Time. Just 10 minutes left to go now until we see the Soyuz descent module separate from the other parts of the vehicle. The orbital module and instrumentation and propulsion modules will burn up in the Earth's atmosphere while the descent module continues on with Misurkin, Maezawa, and Hirano inside. All that takes place just a few minutes before the Soyuz begins to experience the Earth's atmosphere again and things begin to heat up. So that allows the Soyuz's heat shield to be exposed. Soyuz then reorients itself to be facing into the heat so that the heat shield takes the brunt of that load and keeps the crew safe inside. That again is coming up, the separation is coming up at 8:47 p.m. Central Time, about 10 minutes away now, all leading towards today's 9:13 p.m. Central landing.
Altair, 6.5 minutes to separation. I need to move to transportation position and move the hand controllers to the commander, and also make sure you press the push to talk buttons in order to continue with the broadcast.
Just 30 minutes left now on the journey of the Soyuz MS-20, which launched on December 8th, carrying Alexander Misurkin, Yusaku Maezawa, and Yozo Hirano to the International Space Station for a 12-day stay. They've just got a few miles left in their 6.4 million mile trip and are wrapping up the last of 189 orbits around the Earth. This is the third space flight for Misurkin, who will have spent a total of 346 days in space over his 3 missions by the time the trio lands today. And of course, it's the first space flight for Maezawa and Hirano, so they'll each land with a total of 12 days in space to their names. They're all headed now towards a 9:13 p.m. Central Time landing. Everything going well since the deorbit burn started a little more than 20 minutes ago. That's slowing them down, moving them into place to begin experiencing the Earth's atmosphere here in just a few minutes. But first, of course, we are waiting for the descent module. The 3 crew members are inside to separate from the rest of the Soyuz vehicle. That's coming up at 8:47 p.m., just about 4 minutes from now.
Altair
214 until the separation. Please check the program, the separation program, the controlled descent.
Team in Moscow calling up there a 2-minute warning to the crew inside the Soyuz for that upcoming separation of the descent module. That's at 8:47 p.m. when the Soyuz will be about 87 miles above the Earth's surface.
Altair,
1.5 minutes to separation. A reminder, you need to release push-to-talk buttons. And anytime you need to talk, you need to press push-to-talk button without leaving it depressed. 1 minute, 14 seconds to separation. Verify.
Less than a minute now to go until the descent module separates from the rest of the Soyuz.
A reminder, release all push-to-talk buttons and subsequently talk by depressing the push-to-talk button. Do not leave it depressed.
Soyuz descent module now separating from the orbital module and the instrumentation and propulsion module that it's normally connected to. The vehicle 87 miles in altitude above the Earth's surface. The orbital module and instrumentation and propulsion module are going to burn up in the Earth's atmosphere while the descent module continues on for today's 9:13 p.m. Central Time touchdown in Kazakhstan, southeast of Kazakhstan. With this descent module flying on its own now, the next milestone we're watching for is coming up in just a couple of minutes when the Soyuz, and specifically the descent module, is 62 miles above the Earth. That's when it'll begin feeling the Earth's atmosphere again, and the crew will, for the first time in 12 days, begin to feel the effects of gravity. Team here on the ground confirmed that all looked nominal with the Soyuz vehicle's separation. And that's good because now it's the descent module's time to shine. 62 miles above the Earth at this point and beginning to feel the effects of the Earth's atmosphere again. This is also when the crew begins to feel the first effects of gravity since they left Earth 12 days ago. And at this point, the descent module's computers are orienting the capsule so that the heat shield is pointing forward, protecting it from the heat generated as it begins to experience that atmosphere again. Things will begin to heat up over the next few minutes, and at 8:56 p.m., the crew on board the Soyuz will be experiencing the maximum pressure that they'll be feeling, the max G load. They'll feel about 4 to 5 times the force of gravity here on Earth at that point. That's coming up around 8:56 p.m. Another milestone ticked off on the Soyuz's journey back to Earth for the 9:13 p.m. landing.
Inaudible.
Soyuz MS-20 is beginning to feel the effects of Earth's gravity and the heat of the atmosphere as the Soyuz flies through it. At 8:56, about 4 minutes from now, is when they'll experience the maximum pressure or G-load of their descent, about 4 to 5 times the force of gravity that we feel here on Earth. And then just 2 minutes after that, about 14 minutes before touchdown, the first in a series of parachutes will deploy. That's when the Soyuz is still about 35,000 miles above the Earth and traveling at more than 500 miles per hour. Those first two parachutes are called the pilot parachutes. They come out first. One is 6.7 square feet and one 48.4 square feet. They together drag out the drogue chute. That one, 258 square feet, slows the Soyuz down to 178 miles per hour and also creates a gentle spin for the Soyuz as it dangles underneath the chute, and that helps stabilize the capsule in its final minutes before touchdown. And then just before touchdown, the drogue chute is jettisoned to make way for the deployment of the 3,281-foot main parachute. That continues slowing the capsule down to a speed of about 16 miles per hour. At first, the capsule hangs beneath it at a 30-degree angle to the horizon to help with aerodynamic stability. But then one of the two harnesses connecting the parachute will be severed and the Soyuz will right itself so that it's in a vertical position for touchdown. Still 2 minutes to go before the crew on board reaches that maximum dynamic pressure point. While the crew has been making its way back towards the Earth's surface, a number of officials and vehicles are standing by in Kazakhstan in preparation for the landing. A total of 12 Mi-8 helicopters deployed to various sites across Kazakhstan for Soyuz landings. 8 of those are at the expected landing site, this time southeast of Zhezkazgan in Kazakhstan, and 2 more are standing ready about 250 miles away in the area where touchdown would take place if a ballistic entry occurred. 2 additional helicopters split the difference and loiter midway between those 2 areas.
How do you read us?
Six all-terrain vehicles are also deployed to the landing site, and 3 Antonov airplanes that serve as flying command centers. They provide the communication with the crew and relay those communications back to Moscow. It's 8:56 p.m. Central Time now, so the crew should begin experiencing that maximum G-load, about 4 to 5 times what we experience here on Earth. And we're just 2 minutes away now from the first parachute deployments.
Altair, how do you read us? Currently the G-loads are 251. How are the crew members feeling? Nominal 8. Seconds is an overshoot. Is it in the controlled automatic descent in the AUS? Yes, confirm. And what is the pressure? 800. What is the pressure in the descent module? 800.
Yeah. Waiting for main parachute opening.
All reports good so far. We're coming up next on that first parachute deployment. That will be the 2 pilot chutes that then will pull out the drogue chute that precedes the main chutes.
The integral is 1616. Discrete is -0.01.
Soyuz is about 35,000 feet above the Earth at this point and traveling just over 500 miles per hour. So when the drogue chute or the pilot chutes begin to deploy. One of those pilots is 6.7 square feet and one is 48.4 square feet. Together they pull out the drogue parachute, which is 258 square feet. "13 minutes away now until today's 9:13 p.m. Central Time landing of the Soyuz MS-20 spacecraft in just southeast of Jazakhstan, Kazakhstan. The drogue chute slows the Soyuz down to 178 miles per hour in about 16 seconds and then begins stabilizing the capsule. About 10 minutes to go now until today's touchdown of the Soyuz MS-20 with Alexander Misurkin, Yusaku Maezawa, and Yozo Hirano on board. They are going to be wrapping up a 12-day stay in space when they touch down southeast of Jazakhstan. That call sounds like the Soyuz has established communications with the team on the ground, waiting to support them once they do land safely in Kazakhstan. This We are hoping to get some video of today's descent under parachutes, but that is always dependent on a number of factors, so we'll keep holding on and reporting information as we get it in. So far, all indications are good as the Soyuz making its way down towards that 9:13 landing, less than 10 minutes to go now.
Unintelligible.
About 8 minutes now until the Soyuz MS-20 crew is scheduled to touch down in Kazakhstan. Team here on the ground reporting that crew's in good condition as they make their way towards that 9:13 p.m. Central Time touchdown. 7 minutes away from that at this point. Once they do touch down, all the recovery crew members will be converging on them to help get them out of the Soyuz spacecraft and into medical tents so they can make their return home. Hearing a little bit of chatter there, but not much of it intelligible. Still, all reports are that the crew's doing well, making their way down for the 9:13 touchdown that's coming up in 6 minutes now. Less than 5 minutes to go now on the Soyuz's 12-day journey to the International Space Station and back. Alexander Misurkin, Yusaku Maezawa, and Yozo Hirano on board, ready to make their return southeast of Kazakhstan. At this point, the Soyuz is beneath the 3,281-foot main parachute, which slows it down to about 15.6 miles per hour. Two harnesses hold it at a 30-degree angle to the horizon until the bottom harness is severed, and then the Soyuz is able to swing into a vertical position for its touchdown, just 4 minutes away now. When the Soyuz is about 16,000 feet above the Earth, the heat shield jettisons so that the altimeter beneath it can see the Earth below to get altitude and rate of descent readings. At that point, the seat shock absorber is also turned on, and at 39 feet above the Earth, Misurkin will get a notice from the computers to prepare to fire 6 solid propellant engines called the soft landing engines to slow the Soyuz to 5 feet per second, or about 3.5 miles per hour. Even so, with those soft landing engines, reports from astronauts are that it's still a bit of a jolt when you touch down. About 3 minutes until the scheduled touchdown now. About 2 minutes left now until Misurkin, Maezawa, and Hirano are scheduled to touch back down in Kazakhstan. Just about a minute left now until that touchdown time. Again, we'll be waiting for confirmation from the teams on the ground that the Soyuz has touched down safely. Since we're not able to see it on video at this point, we'll get video hopefully before too long, and hopefully can get a glimpse of the crew once they are outside of the Soyuz. That is Alexander Misurkin, Yusaku Maezawa, and Yozo Hirano returning from a 12-day journey to space. Standing by now for confirmation of the crew's touchdown. That was scheduled to take place at 9:13, so we're just waiting to hear from the teams there on site that it did happen on schedule. Still standing by, waiting to hear about the touchdown of the Soyuz MS-20, scheduled at 9:13, and teams on the ground were moving into place to assist them as soon as they did touch down. So we're just waiting to hear from those teams that they have made contact. No indication that there has been any problem with the landing. We're just waiting for that confirmation that they got down safely. It sounds like weather in Kazakhstan or at the landing site southeast of Kazakhstan is somewhat challenging, so maybe a few more minutes of a wait than we usually experience. Oftentimes we get video of the Soyuz as it touches down, but weren't able to get any of that today. We'll see if we can get some a little later in the night. There's basically a standing army waiting to assist the Soyuz after a landing, including a few vehicles that are reserved for the case of a ballistic touchdown. That wasn't the case today. There was not a ballistic touchdown, so those won't be in use. But even without that, there are 8 Mi-8 helicopters at the landing site southeast of Kazakhstan, ready to touch down and surround the capsule once it is on the ground. And in addition, 6 all-terrain vehicles make their way out to the landing site, and 3 Antonov airplanes that serve as flying command centers, providing direct communication with the crew and relaying those communications back to Moscow. Still standing by for confirmation from those teams on the ground that they are with the crew at the landing site. That landing scheduled to occur at 9:13 p.m. Central, and we are just waiting for the confirmation at this point. Once again, we are still waiting on confirmation that the recovery teams have made their way to the crew following their planned 9:13 p.m. Central Time landing. Are hearing that the weather in Kazakhstan might be a little bit more challenging. It's probably delaying that a bit, but we are standing by to pass that along as soon as we do hear reports that they're with the crew and beginning the recovery process. This is Mission Control Houston. We are still standing by for confirmation of the Soyuz MS-20 landing. All reports going into that were nominal, so no reason to suspect that anything is wrong. We are just waiting for the recovery crews to meet up with the Soyuz and its crew and begin removing them from the capsule. That will be the next step on their journey home. They've spent 12 days in space, 189 orbits, and traveled 4.6 million miles. So we are standing by to confirm their landing southeast of Jazakhstan in Kazakhstan. been about 15 minutes now since the scheduled 9:13 p.m. Central landing of the Soyuz MS-20. We're still waiting to hear from the recovery teams. They are with the crew and the Soyuz vehicle and ready to get them out of that spacecraft. Teams that descend on the landing site once the Soyuz does touch down include 8 Mi-8 helicopters. Additional helicopters go to the ballistic landing site, but that was not needed this time. In addition to those helicopters, 6 all-terrain vehicles and 3 Antonov airplanes that serve as flying command centers also deployed to the landing site. The team here on the ground did hear from those personnel that they had visuals of the Soyuz descending under parachutes, but because of the visibility issues with weather there at the landing site, did not see the actual touchdown, so they're working on getting to the Soyuz at this point, and we are standing by for confirmation that they are there with the crew. Again, it's been a little bit more than 15 minutes since that 9:13 p.m. Central landing, and we will keep you up to date as soon as we do get that confirmation from the teams on the ground. This is Mission Control Houston. We're still waiting to hear back from the recovery teams who are making their way out towards the Soyuz landing site, that they are there with the Soyuz crew. That landing was scheduled to take place at 9:13 p.m. Central Time. Teams on the recovery personnel did report that they saw parachutes deploy, and so all expectations are that everything is nominal with the landing. It's just taking a little bit of extra time for the recovery teams to get to the Soyuz and begin extracting the crew. Once again, we're still waiting for that confirmation, and we'll continue along with our coverage until we're able to pass it on. At that point, we'll be able to say that Alexander Misurkin, Yusaku Maezawa, and Yozo Hirano spent 12 days in space and completed 189 orbits of the Earth. Once the recovery crews are there with them and able to extract them from the Soyuz capsule, they'll be working to get them on planes to return home as quickly as possible after that. The landing sites for the Soyuz vehicles are pretty remote, and it sounds like visibility isn't great for that team today, so that's likely why it's taken a little bit longer than usual to get that confirmation that they are there with the Soyuz. Okay, and we are now receiving that the recovery crews are with the Soyuz. They arrived at 9:33 p.m. Central Time on site, the landing site, and the crew is feeling good. The descent module is vertical. May not get a final landing, exact landing time, but it was scheduled for 9:13 p.m. Central Time. And once again, we do have confirmation now that the recovery teams are with the Soyuz. It did land upright in its nominal position. There is possible for it to land on its side, and that's not a problem. But this will hopefully speed recovery efforts along a little bit. Again, the recovery crews and those Mi-8 helicopters and the all-terrain vehicles have made it to the Soyuz's landing site and should now be working on extracting the crew from their Soyuz vehicle. Again, wrapping up 12 days in space, 189 orbits, and 4.6 million miles that Alexander Misurkin, Yusaku Maezawa, and Yozo Hirano have traveled in the course of their flight. And let me repeat again that the recovery crews who've been making their way towards the Soyuz did arrive there about 5 minutes ago now, or 9:33 p.m. Central Time. And all reports are that the crew is in good shape. They should be able to begin extracting them from the Soyuz, which did land vertically. And then all the priorities will be to get the crew out of the Soyuz and on planes to return home. Once again, we do have confirmation that the recovery crews are with the Soyuz crew, Alexander Misurkin, Yusaku Maezawa, and Yozo Hirano, who have landed in Kazakhstan, southeast of Kazakhstan, after 12 days in space, 189 orbits, and 4.6 million miles. This is Misurkin's third trip to space, and he's landing today with a total of 346 days spent orbiting the Earth. For our two spaceflight participants, Yusaku Maezawa and Yozo Hirano, they have now completed their first space flights and can claim 12 days spent in space. With the crew on the ground and reported to be safe and in good health, all those vehicles that were pre-staged are now working, the personnel on them are now working to get the crew out of the Soyuz so that they can begin making their way home from the landing site. Crew will be able to change out of their launch and entry suits in a portable medical tent that will be set up near the capsule, and then Russian technicians will open the Soyuz hatches and help the crew members out of their spacecraft. They've been living in zero gravity for the past 12 days and will be feeling the effects of being back on the Earth's surface, so they may spend some time seated in special reclining chairs near the capsule for a few minutes. And then as soon as they're ready to go, they'll be helped into helicopters for a flight back to a staging site in Karaganda, Kazakhstan, before boarding planes home. Haven't been able to receive any video from the landing site yet, but once again, we did receive confirmation that the crew had landed. The recovery crew members and personnel were with them at the landing site now and working to get them out of the Soyuz, and that all are in good health after 12 days spent in space. Landing came around 9:13 p.m. Central Time. That was the scheduled landing time. Without the video confirmation, and it'll be difficult to get an exact touchdown time, but expect that it was right around schedule, which again was 9:13 p.m. For those who are still with us, we are still waiting to see if there's any chance that we'll get video. We may not get any video of the crew this time around. It sounds like the weather conditions in Kazakhstan aren't ideal, but we do have again confirmation that the crew landed safely right around 9:13 p.m. We won't have an exact landing time since we didn't get to observe it on the video, but expect that it was right around the planned time of 9:13 p.m. Central Time. And that wrapped up a 12-day mission to the International Space Station and back for Alexander Misurkin, Yusaku Maezawa, and Yozo Hirano. We expect the recovery teams with them now are working to get them out of the Soyuz capsule, and then we'll be helping them out of their launch and entry so-called suits so that they can get on helicopters and begin the next leg of their journey home.
I'll stop here, or we have to take a look.
And you're seeing here finally some video from the landing site in Kazakhstan, that's southeast of Jazzkazgan, Kazakhstan, of the Soyuz MS-20 vehicle landed upright.
Yes, that's right. Ivanov, get that inflatable thing. Inaudible, tell them and come over here.
Кабеля не хватает.
This again is live video that we're seeing from the landing site southeast of Cazaquistan, where the Soyuz MS-20 touched down upright about 9:13 p.m. Central Time with Alexander Misurkin, Yusaku Maezawa, and Yozo Hirano on board. These are the all-terrain vehicles that we had been mentioning were making their way to the landing site, ready to help the crew get out of the Soyuz capsule and begin the next leg of their journey home.
Well, they are going to change and then stand by, be ready. They're all on alert. Everybody's on alert. Yes, once they change out of into the new clothes, they will be fine out here. I told him that, and they are just getting some video shots from over here. Once they change, they will come out. We copy. Misurkin will be coming out first, probably.
Misurkin. 95 давление.
Misurkin.
95 давление. 123,75.
The heart rate is 95. The blood pressure is normal, and the saturation 97. So we are going to work with the crew. Take a little break. Yes, I copy. Inaudible. Let's do it the normal way, like we always do. Everything should be fine. And then we'll be able to go back. We'll take a few shots of the descending module, if you can. Here, take a look.
Once again, this is live video coming from Kazakhstan.
Once they're set out.
The Soyuz just out of view here between these two all-terrain vehicles, and we did just receive confirmation that all 3 crew members have been extracted from the Soyuz vehicle. It sounds like they may be getting out of their so-called space suits and into more comfortable clothing for the next leg of their journey home. They'll be getting on helicopters that will take them to an airport in Karaganda, where they'll board planes for the next leg. But again, all 3 crew members, we are hearing reports now that they are all out of the Soyuz spacecraft and getting changed out of their spacesuits.
Are they ready yet? We need to talk to one specific person, Mr. Kravchenko.
Hello, Sergey?
And that's a phone conversation that's not very audible.
Перекись 1, это 3-0, перекись 2, 2-1. Сливать не надо, да? Кого дать? П, перекись 1, 3-0 по Сиусу. П, перекись 3-0.
This is the parameters for certain data.
Перекись 2.1.
Peroxide 1 and some inaudible data.
Getting just a glimpse of the crew members who, once again, we are told have been working to get out of their spacesuits.
Pull that up.
We're seeing here now some video that was replayed, shot earlier of the crew being extracted from the Soyuz. That looks like Alexander Misurkin there, the commander of the Soyuz capsule, and Roscosmos cosmonaut. He again is wrapping up now his third space flight. He, with the addition of the 12 days spent in space for this mission, now has 346 days in space in his career.
I'm careful.
Once again, this is a video being replayed from earlier. Crew has since been confirmed to all have been extracted from the Soyuz. We saw live video earlier with two of these vehicles surrounding the Soyuz. So this is a replay that we're seeing of their extraction. Soyuz touchdown around 9:13 p.m. Central Time, southeast of Jetsusgan. There's a second crew member coming out. That looks like Yusaku Maezawa, being extracted from the Soyuz following his first space flight. 12 days in space now for him, a spaceflight participant and board engineer 1 for this trip. There's that second vehicle that we saw earlier now pulling up.
And you have to move over there. Dima Ivanov, you copy? I'm here. How's Maezawa? He's doing fine. They're all fine, yes. Over here? Yes, that's over here. If you can see from over here. Let's also get some clothes from the other.
And there is our third crew member, Yozo Hirano, being extracted from the Soyuz in this replay of video that was shot just a few minutes ago. Instead of the usual reclining chairs that we see at the Soyuz landing sites, looks like the crew members that were being taken directly into these vehicles, and we did hear that they were changing out of their so-called spacesuits now, getting ready for the next leg of their journey home.
Let's get the clothes. The clothes are in the other vehicle. We need to get the sets of clothes for them to change into. Here, a few minutes. That we need to put away. If you can hold this one, then we'll probably get the sound from the other one.
Now that we've finally gotten that video that shows us all three crew members in good health and safely landed in Kazakhstan, we're going to be wrapping up our coverage for the night. Just to go over the stats again, the Soyuz MS-20 crew spent a total of 12 days in space, 12 days on the space station, and during that time made 189 orbits, traveling 4.6 million miles. Led by Soyuz Commander Alexander Misurkin, who was making his third trip to space. He is wrapping up this trip with 346 days spent in space. And then our spaceflight participants Yozo Hirano and Yusaku Maezawa, who, of course, are finishing their first space flight and have now a total of 12 days in space. Since we're able to get that video showing them being extracted from the Soyuz safely and getting ready to begin the next leg of their journey home, we're going to again wrap up our coverage now. Following that landing time around 9:13 p.m. Central Time or 9:13 a.m. in Kazakhstan. Coming up at 3:30 a.m. Central, you can see a recap of all of these activities in the NASA TV video file. And then you'll want to be sure and tune back in Tuesday morning at 3:45 a.m. Central for the launch of the SpaceX CRS-24 cargo craft to the International Space Station. It should then be docking on Wednesday at 3:30 a.m. Central, and you can see it all here on NASA TV. Thanks for watching. This is Mission Control Houston.